Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Fancy Friday Show with me, Matt Niblock. Today, I have a super special guest, William Heathershaw with Iowa Love. Hey, William, thanks so much for being with me today.
Of course, Matt. Good morning, and thank you for hosting and organizing this incredible, what do you call it, Facebook Live event, podcast?
Absolutely. All applies.
All right. And I want to say first, I mean, you've been doing this for quite some time, really highlighting different nonprofits and organizations that are active in their community. And I'm not sure if folks know that much about you and why you're really doing this. So let me, introduce you a little bit. Actually was very glad and honored to be able to know Matt back in college, back in 12, 13, 14 years ago.
Let's not do the math.
Yeah, I'm sorry I had to do that. The numbers. And but yeah, Matt was super involved, and I definitely was always just in awe of like how engaged he was and taking care of everybody around him. And weren't you even like a very popular mascot named Herky?
A certain bird character on occasion, yes.
Millions of kids, happy like every Sunday, every Saturday for years. And so, Matt, yeah, no, it's great that you continue doing everything you're doing.
Yeah, and a few were deathly afraid as well, though. Let's not forget about those. And some adults, in fact, there's a lot of funny stories. If anybody ever runs into me in person, feel free to stop me and ask me about those stories, and I will tell you story after story until you're like, all right, let's move on to the next thing.
Well, that's so awesome. Like I interned at Mid-American Energy for a couple of summers, and for a couple of parades, I was Louis the Lightning Bug. And because of that, nice. I had some complex because, when I was wearing Louis the Lightning Bug, the costume, everybody loves you. They look at you. When you take that costume off, just 2 minutes later, nobody gives a rip. And so I'm sure that was also a little traumatizing for yourself as well. But anyway.
I like to say they would only put me on TV when I was wearing a mask, right? That's when people care about you, is when you got the mask on. So
that's great.
Well, awesome. Thanks for pulling that audible on me. Fantastic. So let's get back into Iowa Love a little bit. Actually, sorry, you completely threw me off. Before we get into Iowa Love, I want to remind our viewers that Casual Friday is canceled. That's right. We are dressing fancy. And so for today, I actually have kind of a strange tie-in there where I have my favorite casual shoes. These puppies are known as the Iowa Dunks. Had a couple of different people go together for a Christmas present for me this year for these. So they're super awesome. And I noticed, William, you're not looking so fancy there. What do we got going on?
Oh, gee. Well, Iowa Love, we all started with our T-shirts, and then we kind of went into the hoodies as the, seasons went on. But you're right, Matt. I apologize for being underdressed for this amazing event. One moment, please.
Classic.
Some elevator music, perhaps.
The hoodie unveil to the T-shirt that's also Iowa Love. Product placement champions we are.
Yes.
So, there you go.
Does this work?
That looks much better. Absolutely. So let's jump into it, though. Let's jump into Iowa Love. You've been working, with this idea for a couple of years. So I guess just to start with, when did you kick this whole thing off? And what's kind of the backstory? How did you kind of get into it?
Yeah, Matt, thank you for asking. And so let's just kind of start with, since I last saw you kind of in Iowa City, 12 years ago, I left Iowa. And I have not officially lived back in Iowa since then. And I even moved as far away as Beijing, China, where I was for about 4 years, first as a volunteer for the Olympics and a lot of other fun stuff. But anyway, of course, distance kind of makes the heart grow fonder. And when I moved back to the Midwest, to Minneapolis, I think I was kind of conditioned to continue to miss home. And so when I would drive down I-35 back home to Waterloo, I would always, pass by the, welcome to Iowa sign on the border. And after a while, just for some reason, I was pretty sure it said like, welcome to love. And so, up to that point, I was working on a app to help parents with their children's screen time. So I got into design more and more to design that app. I'm like, well, maybe I can work on a design for this Iowa Love ambiguous cursive, a visual pun of sorts. And yeah, just kind of worked that out. And then I sat on it for months just because I was like, this is cool, but what will I do with it? And then I'm like, well, I'd make a cool t-shirt, but so what?
Right.
I think there's more potential with something that has this much meaning. And speaking of which, by the way, I probably should show off and ask, is this backwards? I can't really tell if this is
No,
me.
no, it's good. Yeah, it's always backwards on your side, but it's good on my side. Just like this sign back here, it looks backwards to me, but everybody can read it. So
Perfect. Well, so then what I love to do first is say, hey, have you seen this before? And what do you see in the cursive here? Do you see Iowa? Do you see love? And
right.
then, typically people will say, oh, yeah, I see love. Oh, but now that you mention it, I also see Iowa. So anyway, yeah, so this is the design that we're talking about. We call it the Iowa love symbol. And so I wasn't really sure what to do with it because, a t-shirt would be cool. But unfortunately, then in the spring of 2019, there were some pretty horrific floods in the Council Bluffs and the Sioux City areas. And yeah, people's lives were being devastated. And of course, there was some big fundraising drives to help support the communities. And I just kind of thought, well, hey, maybe there's something here. Maybe there's finally a purpose to use this Iowa Love symbol on a t-shirt to fundraise. And so, yeah, just did some quick hustling as an entrepreneur. I, reached out to the United Way, both in Sioux City and Council Bluffs, and saying, hey, would you be okay if I were to promote this on Facebook, saying that sales of an Iowa Love t-shirt would go to support flood relief and recovery? And yeah, I mean, they were very accepting of that. And so I think within a few weeks, we raised something like $700, which obviously is not much when it's tens of millions of dollars of devastation. But it kind of was a proof of concept of, this could be something to help nonprofits. And then I guess, not much later, I stopped by to see if there's actually a commercial purpose of this. So I stopped by the Welcome to Iowa, or the Welcome Center in Northwood, Iowa. And I met with Jean, who operates the whole Welcome Center. And I asked, hey, what do you think about this? And she said she's been managing the Welcome Center for 20 some years and had never seen a t-shirt design that was so unique or something like that. And so right then and there, she agreed to carry several dozen. And about a week later, Barn Happy, which is an amazing gift shop for made in Iowa products in Cedar Falls, Iowa, stopped by, showed it to Chris. I'm like, what do you think about this Iowa Love t-shirt? She said, I think you have a winner. I think she purchased several dozen t-shirts right then and there as well. And so I was like, okay, well, maybe there's something here, both on the ability to fundraise for nonprofits and then the emotional connection that it appeals to folks that, of course, love their hometown and love their home state. And that's kind of the impetus of the whole thing over those few months.
Very cool. So I love this story because it starts from a place of hey, I'm trying to give back, right? And it's kind of built over time into what's now a business. But at the same time, you've never really given up that giving back, the roots of the company and giving back. And so one of the cool things I really like about Iowa Love is that, over this, I mean, what has it been? Not even 2 years, like a little under 2 years at this point. One of the things that you say is that you've worked with many different nonprofits, raised over $100,000 for different efforts, causes, nonprofits. And I think that that's really the tie-in with Fancy Fridays, that we're very focused on people that are trying to be champions of those nonprofits, of those causes. So can you maybe just tell us a little bit about, some of those, maybe some of your favorite experiences with dealing with, raising money and doing some of those things for those nonprofits or causes?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I never really realized that there's actually an industry behind nonprofit fundraising. And there's companies that are quite wealthy that more or less profit from fundraising. And I kind of thought, well, I mean, why don't we try to do something different here where we kind of, have a t-shirt and we say 100% of the net proceeds from a set fundraiser will go to be donated to that nonprofit. It's because, that nonprofit is, using their effort, their current community, their current contacts to promote this. And, I just never have felt comfortable profiting directly from the sales of t-shirts to these fundraisers. Of course, as a business, there's other benefits. It helps increase our visibility so more people know about Iowa Love. Once somebody orders a t-shirt to support a specific nonprofit, we could now further engage with them down the road about other opportunities and other products that we're offering. But so just from early on, I realized that a lot of nonprofits kind of were attracted to this idea because, hey, it's a free way to fundraise and they actually can get the most bang for their buck. So when we're talking about most of our fundraisers that we've done, our t-shirt would retail like $24.95, which would mean they'd earn quite a bit of money per t-shirt sale. And so the first successful one that we had that got some statewide attention was when the Floyd County Fairgrounds were hit by a tornado and lost a few of their buildings, and they had a lot of different damage there. And so I think just the day after, I reached out to our retail partner in Charles City saying, hey, maybe we can get together and help fundraise for this thing. And so I think we raised, $1,200, and that was like in our first 6 months of being a company, an organization. And then, as time went on, I think it was later that fall when this amazing story popped up, not only in local news, but national news about some guy that was in Ames during the Iowa State football game, holding up a sign saying, hey, Venmo me some beer money because I'm thirsty. And I think we all kind of know that story about how Carson King ultimately helped fundraise, millions of dollars for the Children's Hospital there in Iowa City. And so when I saw this unfold, I'm like, hold on, this guy's incredible. The story's incredible. And it's superly, is that a word? We'll say it's a word, superly fitting for Iowa love. And so I, tried quite a bit to reach out to the guy, say, hey, let's do something together. And, but yeah, fortunately, he decided to continue his career in philanthropy. And so he founded a foundation in January of 2020, and which was perfect timing because then, hey, let's have your first statewide fundraising campaign be a partnership with Iowa Love, selling Iowa Love Carson King Foundation t-shirts. And so, lots of folks were very supportive of that. And I think we fundraised for his foundation like $43,000, something like that, within a 10-day t-shirt campaign. And before I forget, I just want to say, it's not really Iowa Love that's donating all this money. It's Iowa Love is simply like a vehicle that enables folks like you to support nonprofits that they care about. And so, yeah, if it wouldn't be for, the thousands of people that said, hey, this is a cool idea. Hey, that's a cool t-shirt. Hey, I want to support that cause. We wouldn't be talking about, the successes that we've had the last couple of years here. And then just like the Floyd County Fairground tornado, another much larger, of course, natural disaster hit central Iowa last year with the derecho. And so we thought, hey, why don't we try to help fundraise for this as well? And so Carson and Iowa Love teamed back up. And I think over 10 days or so, we fundraised $60-some thousand. I think in the first week, we had a check already to the United Way of Johnson County and Washington County and a few of the other counties there. Within the first week, because they provide very essential services to folks who maybe lost all their cash, they lost all their food, they don't have electricity for the next couple of weeks. How do I take care of my children? And so we were honored that folks supported our fundraiser, and then just systems are set up so well that we were able to take money from our website, write a check, go down to Iowa City, present it, have it all in hand within a week's time. And so, those are a few of the more memorable ones, though I think we've partnered with a dozen or so nonprofits up till now.
Yeah, that's awesome. Really cool stuff. So let's get back to the Iowa Love stuff. And that's a great segue that you're picking up a mug there, because I don't really know that much about all of your different products that you do throughout the year. And I would love to know more. So number one, where can I go to learn more? Where can I actually buy this stuff? And then secondly, what are all the different things that you're throwing the awesome Iowa Love logo on nowadays?
Yeah, so iowalove.org, that's our retail website. We also do partner with a couple dozen different local retailers across the state. And there's a list of our retailer partners on our website as well. So, for months and months, we started and only focused on our Iowa Love t-shirt. As it got cold that winter of 2019, we thought, let's do some sweatshirts. But ultimately, I think the idea is there's so many folks out there that love their hometown, their home state, whether they're still here in Iowa or they live, across the country. But there's no like real great vehicle for people to express that emotion that they have and share that emotion as a gift with others. And so we kind of started to think about, well, what are other ways for us to enable folks to share the Iowa love? And I think first was a wonderful entrepreneur in Cedar Falls, Heath with Cedar Falls Laser Engraving. He reached out to me, cold called on a Saturday. He said, "Hey, I see you're doing that Floyd County Fairground fundraiser. Can I help donate anything?" Because we do laser engraved products. And so from there, we started to say, why don't we do things like, amazing tumblers, that keep your drinks cold all day and hot all day. And then we started to do ball caps with Heath as well. He laser engraves these leatherette patches, and he has
Nice.
a hat press nowadays as well. And then we thought, well, there's a ton of artisans out there that are doing some really neat things. So what's out there that could make sense for us to support them and enable folks in the community to support them by having our Iowa Love symbol on their products. And so, for example, soy candles are they're hand poured in Cedar Falls by Sweet Louise Candle Company. Yeah, we do have a partner, as you mentioned, the ceramic mug. The ones that we sell nowadays are much larger. Actually, this is a first run, but yeah, those are hand thrown in Waterloo. And
People like us don't need too much caffeine in the morning to get going, and so it's probably a good idea to stick with the smaller cup.
I will take that as an endorsement for the smaller cups. I
Yeah,
a lot of feedback. They're too small. I appreciate that endorsement.
All
Yeah,
sides.
so we have kind of like a cool, and especially as Christmas approaches, we've realized that folks, want to gift their friends and family items, and not everybody wants to gift a T-shirt or a hoodie, especially because there's size issues and things like that of people who don't know what size to gift. And so we started to roll out I think more than a dozen different other products, and we do kind of phase those out during the year just because it's kind of hard to keep inventory and pay for inventory and that sort of thing. But I think once October approaches, we'll be bringing in another dozen or a couple dozen locally made in Iowa products that feature the Iowa Love symbol on it. And so, yeah, if there's any artisans that are listening right now, and if you're interested to work with us, yeah, send us an email. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. And on this video, there's a link directly to the Iowa Love Facebook page as well. So, I mean, there's lots of different ways. Just send them a note, figure it, there's a lot of different ways to get in touch. So that's awesome. So you have some big news, though, that I just saw recently, which is you have decided to take up some space in downtown Waterloo, right? So tell us a little bit about the new space and, how that is kind of changing the game for you guys.
Yeah. Well, thank you for asking about that. So, Iowa Love started as a sentimental thing and a personal thing. And so us wanting to move and to have our operations and fulfillment downtown Waterloo is also started as a sentimental and personal thing. And I was born and raised in Waterloo. And, my great grandfathers actually had businesses downtown Waterloo, way back in the day. And growing up in Waterloo, I just kind of felt like there were other cities across the state, across the Midwest that were maybe growing a lot faster than my hometown was. There was a lot more investment going in. Graduates from college or high school are deciding to move to these larger cities across the state and across the Midwest. And so I always kind of felt like, Waterloo could definitely use some support. And that was my mindset back in the 1990s and early 2000s. And now, fortunately, they've brought on amazing teams to bring in businesses and families and whatnot. But of course, it's one thing to hope and wish for those sorts of things to happen, but another thing to actually say, okay, I want to move my business actually to downtown Waterloo. And actually, since we did this about a week or so ago, I've just been very pleasantly surprised by like the positive, warm energy of downtown Waterloo. There's a lot of foot traffic, a lot of people driving around, stopping in cafes and restaurants. I was like, holy heck, even though I'm from Waterloo and I want the best for my hometown, sometimes there's some negative ideas that unfortunately persist, and there's no reason that they should persist. I mean, actually, downtown Waterloo is an amazing place that's a lot's going in, a lot's happening already, and we're really glad to be down there. So in terms of our office, yeah, it is our fulfillment and operations center. So everything that you receive in the mail from us will be coming from down there. It's not currently set up as a retail location. But we're thinking about doing some pop-up shops occasionally. Not sure if folks knew this, but there's a huge annual event downtown Waterloo called the Iowa Irish Fest. Actually, you guys probably all knew about that. It's just a great old time.
I didn't know about that. I'm learning today.
Well, dude, yeah, you got to come down because it's the largest. It's the largest Irish Fest in the state and one of the larger ones in the Midwest. And it's a great old time. And so I think when you come down, then you'll have a lot of fun. Did you see that the largest amusement park in the state of Iowa is being built right now in Waterloo as well?
I did not see that.
Not downtown Waterloo, but yeah, it's just south of town, next to the big water park that we have. And so a lot of cool stuff going on. So when you come to town, definitely swing on by. And I brought that up because during these larger events, we'll probably have an open house. So we can at least, meet face to face, maybe do some shopping. And oh yeah, of course, Ragbri. Ragbri actually chose Waterloo as an overnight town this year. And so I think we'll definitely plan to do something around that as well.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, if you're going on Ragbri, I think your goal should be when I'm going through Waterloo, I should have the Iowa Love shirt on, no doubt about it.
Absolutely. I mean, a good buddy of mine said, well, you need to work with Ragbri one day because people who choose to ride Ragbri, it's definitely an expression of Iowa love. They do it every year because it's a ton of fun, but also they get to enjoy this beautiful landscape that we have and the unique features of the small towns and communities scattered throughout the state. And so there's definitely a great brand connection there with Ragbri and Iowa love. And yeah, so I think maybe decals, we have some vinyl decals, at least put that on your helmet or your bicycle.
Right. There's some easier ways to do it. No doubt about that. Awesome. Well, this has been fantastic learning more about this and, all the crazy things that are happening in Waterloo that I didn't know about as well. But William, thanks so much for coming on today. But before I let you go, every single partner of mine gets to choose the jacket that I'm going to wear in my Fancy Friday photo for the week. So I've got two choices. I've got the very fancy blue jacket I've got on right now. And I also have a more salmon pink colored jacket. So you get to take a choice between this one or this one.
Well, your blue jacket really makes your eyes stand out there, Matthew. So
thank you.
I'm just joking, but yeah, of course. Yeah, that'd be great. Please.
Perfect. All right. Well, thanks so much for coming on. And we will definitely be showing some Iowa love here as we get to I almost said Thanksgiving, as we get to Valentine's Day.
Yes. Perfect. All right, Matt. Yeah. Thank you so much for hosting this. It's been a lot of fun. I was a little anxious about, the whole Facebook Live thing.